It begins quietly, not with panic, not with fear, not with the sudden realization that something is wrong. It begins with a small decision. You step off the trail. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe you saw something interesting between the trees. Maybe you thought you could take a shortcut. Maybe you simply stopped paying attention. And at first, nothing feels different. The forest looks the same as it did before. The air feels the same. The ground feels solid beneath your feet. You walk forward without concern, because in your mind, the trail is still close. You assume you can turn around at any moment. You assume you are still in control. But when you finally decide to go back, there is nothing there. No clear direction, no familiar shape, no sign of where you came from. Just trees, the same trees in every direction. Your brain immediately tries to fix the problem. You pick a direction that feels right. Not because you know, but because you believe. And belief feels like control. You walk faster. Your eyes scan for familiar ground, for footprints, for broken branches, for anything that proves you are not truly lost. But the forest does not care about your expectations. It does not offer confirmation. It offers silence. Minutes pass. You adjust direction, then adjust again. Each choice feels logical. Each step feels productive. But slowly, something begins to change. The light begins to weaken. Not all at once, but in stages so subtle you barely notice. Colors begin to fade. Greens become gray. Shadows grow longer. Depth becomes harder to judge, and the forest begins to flatten into shapes instead of details. This is when the situation changes. Not because you are more lost, but because time is no longer on your side. Darkness in the forest does not arrive like a switch. It arrives like a slow closing door. And once that door closes, everything becomes more expensive. Every movement requires more effort. Every decision carries more risk. Your brain begins to shift into urgency. It tells you to move faster. It tells you to try harder. It tells you that stopping means failure. This instinct feels correct, but it is the instinct that gets people hurt, because movement in darkness is inefficient. Your feet cannot see the ground clearly. Your balance becomes less reliable. Your reaction time slows. A route that would be easy to step over during the day becomes a hazard. A small drop becomes invisible. A misstep becomes injury. An injury, in isolation, becomes emergency. The forest does not need to attack you. It only needs to wait, because exhaustion makes mistakes inevitable. And mistakes create consequences. Your breathing becomes heavier, not because the terrain has changed, but because uncertainty consumes energy. Your brain is working harder. Your muscles are working harder. Your stress response is active. Your body is burning fuel faster than normal. This is the moment where survival changes from navigation to preservation. You are no longer trying to win. You are trying to avoid losing. The most dangerous decision you can make now is to continue moving without purpose, because energy is no longer guaranteed. Energy is now a limited resource, and the forest is patient. The temperature begins to fall. Even if the day was warm, night brings change. Air cools faster than your body adapts. Heat leaves your skin. Your hands begin to lose sensitivity. Not suddenly, but gradually. You notice it first in your fingers. Fine motor control weakens. Your grip becomes less precise. This is the first physical sign that your body is entering a conservation state. Your muscles tighten slightly. Your posture changes. Your shoulders rise instinctively. Your body attempts to protect its core, because survival is not about keeping your hands warm. It is about protecting your organs, your heart, your lungs, your brain. Your body will sacrifice comfort to protect function, but it cannot do this forever. Heat loss continues silently, especially when you are exposed to wind. Wind removes warmth faster than still air. It strips away the thin layer of heat your body creates around itself. And without protection, your internal temperature slowly drops. Not enough to alarm you, not enough to trigger panic, just enough to weaken you. This is why the first night matters. Because this is when people make irreversible mistakes. They continue walking too long. They sweat through their clothing. They trip. They fall. They lose more energy than they can replace. They fight the forest instead of surviving it. The correct decision now is not movement. It is protection. You begin to search for a place to stop. Not a perfect place, just a better place. You look for barriers, a fallen tree, a large rock, dense vegetation, anything that blocks wind, anything that reduces exposure. Because survival is not about comfort. It is about slowing damage. You lower yourself carefully, not directly onto bare ground, because ground contact accelerates heat loss. The earth absorbs warmth faster than air. You gather leaves, branches, debris, anything that creates separation. You create insulation using what is available. You reduce your surface contact. You reduce heat transfer. You stabilize your body. Your breathing begins to slow. Your muscles begin to relax. This is the moment survival becomes possible. Not because you escaped, but because you stopped making the situation worse. The forest grows darker. Sound changes. Night carries noise differently. Small movements feel larger. Distant sounds feel closer. Your brain remains alert, but alertness consumes energy. You must balance awareness with conservation. This is where discipline matters. Not strength, not speed, discipline. Because fear encourages action, but survival often requires restraint. You remain still. You protect your energy. You protect your heat. Time becomes slow. Minutes feel like hours. Hours feel endless. Fatigue builds gradually. Your brain attempts to shut down non-essential processes. It encourages sleep. Sleep conserves energy. But sleep without preparation can be dangerous, because unconsciousness removes awareness, and awareness allows response. So you rest without fully surrendering control. You adjust position when necessary. You monitor your condition. You remain present. Eventually, something changes. Not in the forest, in the sky. Light begins to return. Not strong at first, just enough to separate darkness from shape. Then shape from detail. Then detail from clarity. Morning restores information, and information restores control. Your body remains tired, but your situation improves immediately. Because survival depends more on visibility than strength. You can now see the terrain. You can now navigate safely. You can now make informed decisions. This is why surviving the first night is everything. Because the first night is when energy is lost, when injuries occur, when mistakes compound. But if you survive the night intact, your chances increase dramatically. Because survival is not decided in moments of panic. It is decided in moments of restraint. The forest is not your enemy. Darkness is not your enemy. Cold is not your enemy. Impatience is your enemy, because impatience converts discomfort into danger, and patience converts danger into survival. You were never racing against the forest. You were racing against your own decisions. And now, with light returning, you have another chance. Not because the forest changed, but because you endured it. Survival is not escape. Survival is endurance. And endurance is what carried you through the first night.